Hello, and welcome to RIME Entertainment Showcase with your hosts, Rita and Mel.
Hi everyone, and welcome to February's edition of RIME Entertainment Showcase. My name is Mel.
And my name is Rita, and we've got a great show lined up for you, as always.
It's always a great show because
Exactly.
we've always got great interviews.
Today, our guest is Heather Warren, and she is a Camino expert,
Walking leader,
coach, speaker,
and author.
Yeah, and our conversation we talk about walking. We talk about
Technology,
social
social media,
the pressures that we can have, how to fit in walking, how walking is good for you, and lots of stuff like we always do. Just
you know us.
we just talk.
We talk and then we get on from other subjects to other subjects to other subjects.
But it's really going to inspire you. It's going to get you walking. It's going to get you thinking about life in general and just looking after yourself. So it is another great interview
With another
Nice.
great inspirational person. So we really, we're not going to talk any further.
No.
We're just going to let you watch the interview and get walking.
And we'll be back.
Hi and welcome to RIME Entertainment Showcase, our special guest of the month segment. Woo! Yay! Okay, so today we've got a very special guest, Heather Warring. So Heather Warring is a walk leader, Camino expert, author, speaker, and a coach. Welcome, Heather. Really a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you. I'm really honoured to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Lovely. Okay. So, your mission speaks 1,000 words, or should I say million words?
Yeah, what was that?
Yeah. So your mission is to help 1 million women through walking. Tell us a bit more about that. Why walking?
Well, walking is such a simple thing to do. It's been described often as a perfect exercise because it's something that virtually everyone can do. You kind of do it from your own home or your own workplace. You need very little gear. Okay, if you're going to do the long distance stuff, you maybe need more gear. But, just to get out there in the first place, it's just a pair of comfortable flat shoes. And, it doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter what gender, what ethnic background you are. It's open to absolutely everyone. And so for me, it's also been a constant in my life. It's a form of activity that I have found that works for me. And, Rita and I were discussing just earlier about how you sometimes want to go to the gym, you want to go swimming, you want to go running, but often that takes an awful lot more planning, whereas walking can be easily integrated into your life. So it ticks a lot of boxes, and it also brings us an awful lot of both physical and mental health benefits. So, why wouldn't we want to take advantage of that if we possibly can?
Yeah. And I guess, when you said that about obviously going to the gym and going for a swim, sometimes you can be walking to the gym and walking to the swimming baths or anything, and you're getting your exercise already but oblivious that you are already starting your exercise.
I think that's a very good point you make. A lot of people, I think a lot of reasons that walking might be underrated is because people just kind of do it, and they kind of they don't really think about it, as you've just said. But I was out this morning with my husband and daughter. We'd gone out for brunch, and we were walking back through an area of London that I hadn't walked in for quite a while. And we were seeing buildings, and it was like, oh, wonder what that is. And there's an awful lot of old as well as new. And I was saying to my daughter, it's one of the reasons I love walking. If you're in the car, if you're on a bike, if you're running, it's not as easy to think, oh, that path down there looks really interesting. I wonder, let's just go and see what's through that arch or in that park. And before you know it, you can have taken yourself off on a kind of little mini adventure. And it's a great way for exploring a city. If you go on a city break, nothing better to get to know a city than actually to walk around it, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you just need to go to Paris and guaranteed you're walking for ages.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And you're seeing so much, and you're actually getting to see real people as well. And you're getting to walk through, I mean, you know, any big city, Paris is a great example. There are areas that are more affluent, there are areas that are more challenged, there are areas that you have lots of culture in, and there are areas that are a lot more open, and you know, you just get to see the whole lot. And you're getting lots of exercise at the same time.
Yeah, and I think also we tend to do it more so when we're away. Like if we're on our travels, we'd be willing to be like, oh, I wonder where that will lead, or you know, just kind of, because we're more adventurous in that sense, because we're away from home. But when we're at home, we'll stick to where we know.
Yeah, I mean, for example, just like what you mentioned, is London, where for me, it's easier. Oh, okay. Oh, it's just one stop on the tube. I'll just jump on the tube. I could have at least walked it. It's only like a 10-minute walk. It's not, you know, it's not crazy. No. But I'll just hop onto the tube. Oh, it's cold out there. I'll probably be walking it anyway. But yeah.
But then I would say to you that, you know, if you're walking it, you're probably going to warm up anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
Also, you know, sometimes I mean, I think you make a valid point there about just jumping on the tube for one stop. But, you know, sometimes by the time we go down on the tube, so we get ourselves down in there, we wait for a train, we go our 1 or 2 stops, then we're on a big, you know, we're at a big connection point, and we end up walking for ages before we get back up onto the ground level. And, you know, we could have walked it. We could already be there, you know.
And you could have avoided stairs as well.
And then part of my thing is to kind of get people thinking, you know, oh, what would happen if I just got into the way of not jumping on the tube or not jumping on the bus? I just walked another stop, or I just, you know, just went to see what was there. But one of the great things too is, you know, walking with people. When you're walking with somebody, you're yakking, and I mean, my business is called Women Walking, Women Talking, because women are really good at doing both of those. Yeah. And the great thing about that is sometimes you don't realize how far you've walked. And I take women away on quite long, sort of 5 or 6 days walking, and often we're doing very challenging walking. So we might be doing 14, 15 miles a day. Now, I get bored when I'm doing 14 to 15 miles on my own. But when I'm walking and talking to somebody, all of a sudden, you know, we've walked through wonderful places. We can share the experiences of what we're seeing. And before you know it, you've walked miles, you know.
So you wrote an international best-selling book, which is called How Walking Saved My Life.
Yeah.
So can you talk to us about your journey when writing this and how it saved your life personally?
Well, it's interesting. As a title, a friend of mine who is a publisher, she suggested the title, and my initial reaction was, don't you think that's a little bit dramatic? You know, how saved my life. And she said, do you know, the more I've got to know you, I actually think it did save your life. And so that's a good kind of springboard, because I had got myself into a very stressful place in my life. And I think, like a lot of women, you know, we as women, you know, we're finding more chances at equality in the world. It's taking a lot slower, you know, it's not moving as fast as we'd like. Absolutely. But when you think back to, you know, the workplace, your workplace used to be a very male place. And even at the beginning, when women could work, they were in quite, you know, they were in secretarial, admin tasks. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that those are tasks that you shouldn't be doing, because, you know, people have some great jobs in admin and secretarial. But, you know, when women got married, when women had children, they had to leave work. And so what I'm getting at is that the model for the workplace was very masculine. And I actually still think it is. I don't think You know, a lot of women who've made it in that masculine world have actually had to become quite hard, quite driven, quite masculine.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, women are so much better at collaboration, consulting each other, and we need a bit more of that. So I am a product of that time when it was like, you know, be driven, you can achieve, but it's very masculine and everything. And we need masculine as well as feminine. I'm not trying to knock either. We need a mix. So I think in my life, I had been following that kind of model, and bit by bit, I'd been adding stress. And I do know that I wasn't always listening to what my body was saying to me. So then if you fast forward to a period of time in 2013 when I was a bit lost. I call them my wilderness years now. I kind of lost sense of what I really wanted to do, and I was kind of trying to find that magic thing that would suddenly make me go, yes, this is it. And I was pursuing something called virtual book tours. And my husband had written a book. He's written quite a few books, but I said to him, can I take this out on tour? So I was doing, I was working probably from 8 o'clock in the morning to 12 o'clock at night across time zones to try and set up the structure for this virtual book tour. And I had this little kind of tickly feeling in my throat. And I remember I had a bit of a mantra going, which was, please don't develop, please don't develop. I'm taking a holiday, please don't develop. But I knew I was working too hard. Anyway, the holiday came, I went off on holiday, but it was a holiday, it was a walking holiday, and I was on the Camino de Santiago. I was crossing the Pyrenees, so it was one of the most challenging bits. The weather turned from, was colder and wetter than it should have been. It then, about a day later, turned really hot. And although I enjoyed it, I came back exhausted. Spent 3 days in tears. Didn't quite know what was happening to me because that wasn't me. And then read an article which was all about burnout. And it was like tick, 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 tick. So I had been pushing and pushing, and my body really had decided no more. You're not listening. And if you think back, and your listeners may resonate with this too, different times in our lives when we're not paying attention, and our body has this magical way of stepping in and stopping us, making us ill, you know, doing something. Now, we don't always pay attention, but at this point, I actually began to pay attention. And then I looked back and I could see where things had come from. And I started to look at, Rita, you'll know the Wheel of Life as a coaching tool. I started to look at this coaching tool, and I was looking at all aspects of my life thinking, where's this stress, where's this pressure coming from? And from that, I kind of started to recover, I guess. I had some counseling. I talked to a naturopath. I took on board quite a lot of different alternative health practices, but I took my walking in a different direction, and I slowed it down, and I started to use it as a meditative tool, and it's a tool that brought me more into connection with nature and with the world around me. So much more mindfulness. It really got me slowing the pace. It got me feeling less stressed. And it gave me thinking time. And all of those together, and at that point in time, I put a stop for a little while to the long distance walking. And it was really that started to, as my friend said, save my life. And she said, I think if you hadn't started to do that and taken that seriously, she said, I think you might have made yourself seriously ill.
That's true.
But I could also identify 3 other times in my life. One was in, I think it was about 1999, when I was training for a walk along the Great Wall of China, and I was going through bullying in the workplace. And that walking was my escape. And I remember sitting on the top of a hill in the Lake District, looking at this stunning scenery all around me. And nature has this way of making us realize how insignificant we are.
Yeah.
Again, not in a bad way, but just, you know, some of the things we agonize about are actually really, really tiny, given the grand scheme of things, you know.
Yeah.
And when you look at our world is not in the best place for any of us at the moment. And yet we do still find things to agonize about that sometimes are only really small. And I also hurt my back. I think it was I think it was about 2005. And I started to use walking as a way of recovery, because again, I took it as a message that I wasn't looking after myself. Walking, that's when I think myself and walking and coaching really started. And of course, the third thing was this burnout. So, you know, I hadn't kind of ticked all those boxes, but when I was recovering and I could look back, I realized just how constant and just how important this simple activity had been for me, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
So sorry, quite a long answer there.
No, that's great. I love
But
it.
I'm also just thinking in terms of, you know, we often, as you said, quite rightly, we don't listen to our bodies until our body says, all right, I'm going to make you stop now. But also we gain so much clarity during that time of stopping. Like you said, like you kind of were able to put the pieces together of when, you know, there were other areas that you were close to burnout or that had affected you. And in a way, it's like, had this time out not happened, that reflective side of you might not have kicked in to be, okay, I do have to bring this into where I go from here in regards to that awareness. And I think, you know, sometimes our body calls for us to just stop, but also to make us aware of what are you doing to yourself? You know, come on.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I now describe it as one of the greatest gifts I could ever have been given. And as a coach, it's made me a much better coach to my clients who tend to be women, because so many of them, when I used to stand at the school gate as a younger mum and listen to some of the other mums, when I come across and talk to a lot of small business owners, and even the women who work in corporates, you know, it's this stress and pressure and no time for us. And we as women, and this is all women, we're brought up in that way of being expected to be the carers and the nurturers. It's in our hormone makeup, it's in our DNA, and sometimes we're not even aware that we're doing it, you know, but we're there for everybody else. We're there for our aging parents, our partners, our children, our work colleagues, whoever, you know, and we do not do that for us. And we feel really guilty if we try and do that for us, you know. And sometimes other women will even say to us, you know, what do you mean you're putting yourself first? You know, there's all that guilt and all that shame. The truth of the matter is, if we look after ourselves, if we have some of our needs met, we are in a much better place to give to other people. We're not resentful, you know.
And it's the same in the working place as well. So if you're doing a 9 to 5, it's expected that you've got to work every single minute or every single second of that. And then as soon as you say, right, no, I need to now stop and actually take a lunch break or take a 15-minute out or something like that, you're like, you're taking a break? Are you crazy? And it's like, well, yeah, because otherwise I can't be productive for the rest of the day, you know? Or it's like, well, taking that time off, you know, in the midst of how many months of working, you need to make sure you have regular breaks. Otherwise you can't do that. But it is seen as a bad thing. So even for myself, if I say, right, I just need a bit of a break, or I'm working my deadlines differently, it's kind of frowned upon, not necessarily by seniors, but also by some colleagues, because they don't know how to manage their time. And it is about time management, so you have your own sanity as well as being able to be that productive person.
You make such a valid point, and I think it's a point that's very often shown again by women who have got children, and maybe they've got to leave at a certain time to go and pick their kids up. And again, they get those looks, what do you mean you're leaving at 4:30? Now, maybe you've been in since 7:30 or 8:30, but the thing is, you have probably spent less time at the coffee machine chatting and probably more time focused than some of the others. It's I often say, when did we give our lives up to our work? Because life is supposed to be made up of time with family, time with friends, fun, enjoyment, travel, exploration, lovely food, and work. But work is only meant to be part of that. Nobody, I don't think, we've ever changed the thing that says you have to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks of the year,
Yeah. I do think technology's got a lot to play with it, though, in terms of, obviously, we're constantly on the phone. I mean, you go on the tube, people are in the morning, they're on the phone. When they're coming back, they're on the phone. When they're at work, they're on the computer. So, is it a case of that bosses know, okay, well, the internet is accessible, so you can work from home, and maybe this ethos of being able to work remotely can have a negative drawback in the sense that
it's fine, really.
But in the sense that there's no cut-off because you've got access to work at home. So where do you cut off? Oh, I'll do that maybe till 9 o'clock or something.
It's a very interesting debate.
It is, and I think it's absolutely true. I think, there are a lot of really good things about the internet and about our phones, our mobile phones, our smartphones that can do most things. There's great things about that, but there is a big negativity as well. And I would say it's because I remember writing a blog post many years ago, like when kind of phones started to be much more popular, about making technology work for you. And I actually feel that a lot more of us need to make a stand and say, I'm switching off my phone, or I'm switching off my sound or my notifications for a while. A bit like if you have your own office, and of course lots of people don't have their own office space anymore either, where you might close the door for an hour while you were busy working on something. And I think some of us have to take more responsibility. I'm not saying it's easy, but we have to say, okay, I am not going to work at that time, because it's too tempting. I do it myself. It's too tempting to check, isn't it? Or just check that, just see what's happening. And then before you know it, you've actually answered a message. One of the things I don't do is I will not have my email on my phone.
Very disciplined.
But I have been wavering a little bit recently. But I figure that, there's WhatsApp, there's Facebook Messenger, there's text, there's phone calls. If there's an emergency, people can get hold of me. And actually, how many emails are that urgent?
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. It's not life.
It's easy for somebody like me than it is if you work within a business and a corporate where there is a policy, and a lot of companies give their staff mobile phones and expect them to be at the end of it. So I don't know what the answer is. I think continuing to raise awareness like we're doing, chatting about this here, maybe being a bit brave and actually stepping up and saying no.
I think a lot of that is about saying no, because we're so ready to give in. Again, for people that are working in 9 to 5 especially, they need their bill. It's about their bills being paid, rent and all, etc. So it's kind of like, okay, maybe I should kind of be like, whatever you say, I'll be at the end of the call whenever you need it. But then it is about being disciplined enough, or having that self-respect to say, look, this is my time. You've hired me for this particular time. Unless it's really needed, I'm not going to go over that. It's about having that, maybe just establishing that relationship with people, just so to avoid that stress.
It's about boundaries. And as coaches, we often talk to people about boundaries. What are your boundaries? So I guess in a way we got to walk our talk a bit there as well, and show that we have our own boundaries.
And I think also the idea of walking and talking and putting away your phone, you know, what you do in terms of having groups of people and just connecting with nature, with the outside world, and just saying, you know what, it's not about technology, it's not about living virtually, but it is about living in the real world and just connecting with people. And I think that's what I love about what you do, in that sense, that it is about taking them away from the phone and away from the computer.
Yeah, and actually you just made me think about something else, which is I do encourage lots of people to take meetings on foot, because you know, you can have a meeting, especially if there's only two of you, you can have a meeting walking. And the other great thing about that is often, especially if you have to have a difficult conversation, when you're walking and talking, you don't have to look at each other all the time. Now, you know, if you're sitting across a table, it's much harder to not look at the other person. But when you have a difficult discussion, when you're trying to, when you're being vulnerable, when you're trying to take on board perhaps negative feedback, if you're actually walking, there's something about walking that allows the space and the silence, and it doesn't feel as painful and as uncomfortable as if you're just sitting in a room. So I would say that that's another great thing, whether you're having a difficult conversation with a colleague or whether actually you're having a difficult conversation with a partner or a friend, that walking and talking is a great way to do it.
Lovely. So we've explored a lot of topics there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's what I love to coach when I walk, because again, you know, you can be drawing out those things from somebody who perhaps they haven't kind of thought about some of these issues before. But again, because of this, the ability to have a more comfortable silence, you're giving them time to mull them over as you walk along, you know.
Definitely. Because I also think it's not like it's not a silence as if, say, two people are in the room having a coaching session, because you feel the silence there, but you've got the buzz of maybe the traffic, maybe the birds singing, you know, these different things that come into that silence, so you don't notice that awkward silence as much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So Heather, you've been coaching for many years. How many years have you been coaching?
Since 2000. So 20 years this year. Scary.
Congratulations. And how much has coaching changed? So I know we've spoken a lot about technology as well, but yeah, how much has changed since you started in 2000?
When I started, lots of people didn't really understand what coaching was. People thought coaching was counseling or, you know, some kind of therapy. And therefore people would say, oh, I don't need coaching because I haven't got a problem. And I think that's changing now. I think people are beginning to see that coaching is something that can be really very empowering, because coaching, you know, when you're coaching someone, what you're actually doing is you're facilitating a conversation. You're making the space, you're holding the space for someone to explore and to mull over. And sometimes you're not necessarily even asking that many questions. You know, I had one client that I think in the whole of our coaching sessions, if I asked 2 or 3 questions, then that was probably the most I ever asked, because he would talk, and through just articulating and therefore hearing it differently, he could work it through. So that's one thing. I also think because a lot of companies now bring coaching in and give their staff coaching, that people see it in a different light. Technology has definitely made a difference. You know, I coach internationally because I can coach on Zoom. I can, well, not so much. I mean, some people do email coaching. I kind of never really got into that. But I think there's so many things. I think also coaching in a lot of ways is being seen, as I do believe it is, part of a toolkit. I think those of us who are coaches have coaching as only one of many different tools that we use. And therefore, I mean, if I'm pushed, I will probably describe myself as a kind of life coach. But actually, for me, I'm not really that keen as describing myself as a coach. I might describe myself as a bit of a strategist, or well, I talk more and more about being a leader and things like that, a walk leader now, because most of the coaching I do either is out walking or it has an element of walking in it. And I do online stuff as well as face-to-face stuff, you know, a whole mixture. So I think there's a lot greater variety of different kinds of coaching. I think we are seeing people finding their niches. Whereas before, when I started as well, a lot of coaches would say, well, I'm a coach, I can coach you about anything. And I'm not sure that's so true anymore. I think there's an expectation for you to have some knowledge. And the other thing too, I mean, I don't know, maybe this is to do with me being older, but I do see more people starting coaching earlier. And I do think coaching is something that actually you need to have a bit of life experience for.
Absolutely.
So 20-year-old coaches, okay, maybe if you're in a very specific niche, maybe it works. And I am open to being shown that it can. But I think general, more life coachy thing, I think often, you know, if you're just starting your life out, you know, you're not in a great position.
You can't coach someone who's a lot older. Yeah, absolutely.
I do totally agree with you there, Heather. Especially, you want a coach that is walking her walk, you know, is walking her talk in the sense, you know. And to me, you know, I mean, listeners out there, you know, you were my coach when, you know, I started getting coaching, and I felt that you understood, because obviously I felt you were not saying, when I'm saying experienced, Heather, I'm not saying because you are older.
older.
But obviously I was at that time in my life where I was kind of trying to find myself, and it helped me to understand someone who had the experience of life, but all, you know, came from, you know, a different background, and then also as an experienced coach. To me, that was someone who I could look up to in that sense, and gain that experience, and opened my mind. So I do totally agree with you that having life experience, I think, is really the foundation of being an effective coach, for sure. So yeah, 100% agree with you.
And I think for all of us, you know, whether we're coaches or clients or whatever, the journey never ends. We're all on a journey, and that journey doesn't end probably until we leave this earthly plane, you know. And I mean, I find for me that I'm always still learning stuff. I learn stuff from my clients all the time. I learn stuff from my colleagues and what I'm going through in life. And there's a hell of a lot of joy in that as well, you know, because and then the other thing that makes me laugh is, you know, we often go into coaching, and for anybody who's thinking of this might resonate again. You know, you go into a coaching relationship because you want to fix something. You know, there's something that is not quite working for you, and you want to fix it. And it might be getting a promotion, it might be changing a relationship, it might be changing your jobs, whatever. Or it might be actually looking a bit into yourself and understanding why you do what you do or whatever. And we start that work, and then we get to a point we think, oh, great. But every time we unpeel a layer, there's more to be unpeeled.
So like onions. Yeah.
Things to work on.
And the more painful it gets.
Can do. Yeah. But my you know, when I was going through my burnout, I talk about this in the book. I remember lying in bed some nights, sobbing my eyes out very quietly because I didn't want to wake Alan, and thinking, I don't know who can help me. I don't know. I've lost me. I've lost that spark. I didn't think I would ever get her back again, that kind of vivacious, energetic woman that I was. And what I'm delighted to say to people is that you can get that person back again. So if you're one of your listeners on this is listening and feeling you're in a pretty horrible place, you can actually come through it. And the other thing is, going through it is hardly ever as bad as you think it's going to be. you know, because we get into our head what something is going to be like. And I'm not saying it's necessarily easy, like going through trying to work out what had happened to me to make me burn out wasn't always easy. Having to admit some of the things about what I've done or what the closest people in my world had done, not intentionally, was hard, but actually it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. And then coming through the other side and feeling I was a much better version of me than I'd ever been was just fabulous. So that's a really important message, actually.
Yeah, definitely, because a lot, I mean, even in terms of the women that I've coached, you know, it would be like, if something just feels too heavy, they don't want to face it, it will be like, oh, maybe I should stop the sessions because it's getting too uncomfortable. And you know, I've had clients like that, unfortunately, and it's like they've walked away. And then I've had clients who faced it and moved past it, and they're completely transformed because they're stronger. And like, I faced my fears, you know, I faced those sides of me I kind of kept in the closet and actually opened up about it. And it's like, wow, and they transform before your eyes and completely different. So
yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah.
So where can our viewers go to find out more about yourself, Heather, and your book,
your marketing section now?
Well, I think the easiest thing is to go to womentalking.com, because that's my website. So you'll find, you know, lots of things about what I do there, how I do it, etc., how you can get involved if you want to, on lots of different levels. I mean, there's some free stuff there. There's, you know, there's every kind of thing that you might want. To find out about the book, I mean, if you go on amazon.co.uk and key in how walking changed my life, or sorry, saved my life, you'll find information there. And what I'd also love to tell your listeners about is a wonderful community that I set up at the beginning of November called 1 Million Women Walking, which supports the idea of impacting the lives of 1 million women. And that has grown in only, November, December, January, February, to a community, a global community of 3,600 women.
Amazing, well done.
Who post about walking, who post pictures, but there are people at all different levels of walking. So we have women there's one woman in particular who's on kidney dialysis. She can walk not very far at all, and yet she feels that this is a place that she can belong. And there's other women at the other end of the thing who walk even further than I do, you know. And it's just such a loving, caring, sharing community. And that aim is to take that community to as many people as we can. So if you're listening, folks, and you like a bit of walking, or you'd like to like a bit of walking, go to Facebook, 1 Million Women Walking, and join us. Please do. We'd love to have you.
We'll definitely plug this in. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can find me on Instagram, and you can find me on, you know, LinkedIn and Facebook and all of that stuff. Yeah.
Perfect. Lovely.
So what's your final message to share with anyone who's watching today?
My final message, I think, is summed up in a quote by a guy called Carl Bard, who says, "Though no one can go back and make a brand new start, anyone can start from now and make a brand new ending." Because I think no matter where we are in our lives, we can choose to change that. And the other thing I'd just like to say that goes on from that is, you know, the people listening, you are amazing, and you are so much more than you think you are. And it's just having that confidence to say, I am. And actually, just for goodness sake, take a notebook and write down all the things that you can do. Don't worry about the things that you can't do, because none of us can do everything. Just focus on the things that you can do. And of course, I would say, just go and take a walk.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Heather. It's been such a pleasure having you for this month.
Thank you. I can't believe how quickly this time has gone.
Well, now I feel like I need to go and get my my walking shoes on and go for a walk. it's sunny at the moment. So that's definitely something we're going to do.
Well, see, Heather, I'm someone that I always say I've got to walk with a purpose. I'm someone that says, unless I'm going from A to B, I don't see the point in walking. I'll put my hands up. That's I'm someone.
Ooh.
But you've actually opened my eyes. I'm thinking, I might need to explore this a bit more, and actually don't be so closed-minded in the sense of just feeling I've got to go out for a purpose and that's it.
Just stroll.
But actually, Rita, walking for a purpose is also good. You know, I talk about errand walks and transportation walks, you know. So to get from A to B, walking from A to B is great, and it does bring activity and steps and miles into your day. But I think I've just expand you a little bit there.
Yeah, definitely.
A walk to enjoy the walk. And actually, when you're having that walk, just be aware of where you are and what you can see and what you can hear and what you can feel and what you can smell, and just bring your senses into play. There's a free thing on my website called this 7 days of mindful walking, and it's 7 days and it's easy to do, 15-20 minutes a day. Go try that.
All right, that's my mission. She's
your challenge.
my coach.
She's still coaching.
Yeah. But it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much. We've really learnt a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
So thank you.
I'm going to enjoy that walk now.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Welcome back. We hope you really got something from that interview. I know, well, definitely after that interview, we definitely took a walk, didn't we?
Taken quite a few walks.
Yep, it's good to walk. Absolutely. So, yeah, there's a lot of inspiration that we definitely got from it. I'm pretty sure that you did as well. Again, let us know what you were inspired about on this show, because, again, we like to hear from you. We want to hear your comments. We want to hear what more you want from the show. It could be more interviews, more of us.
Yeah,
maybe.
and if you want to be interviewed as well, you're an expert, then please, send us a message, tell us a bit about yourself, send us a bio, and we'll have a look. We're just looking for people who want to share their dreams, share their goals, inspire people, and who get on with us and like to have a laugh as well while they're being interviewed.
Absolutely. Yeah, so far we've got quite a jam-packed year full of interviews, so why not get on there, get on this show. This is your show. It's not just for us to talk and
And we do like to talk.
we do,
And eat.
unless you've not realised that. They've not seen us eat, but you might see it from our Instagram, or actually that's more about wine than it is about
Well, then we'll
our
have
food
to eat
intake.
more on Instagram.
We're just gonna have to eat more. Yeah, exactly. But don't forget to follow us on Instagram, hashtag Sisters in Rhyme, or at sisters_in_rhyme. That's RIME, not as in rhyme, as in poetry. So so don't forget to follow us.
Do they know, rhyme, how it came about?
I don't think so.
The R-I,
And the
Rita.
M-E from Mel.
There you go.
Exactly.
I just thought we'd share that with you.
Yeah, I mean, we've only been doing this for near enough a year now, so we might as well tell you.
So there's meaning
Why?
behind the rhyme.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
Anyway, we
anyway,
better end off.
enough from us. Go out, go take a walk, keep walking, enjoy the scenery. Hopefully it's not stormy where you are. But
And we'll see you next month with another awesome guest.
take care. See you next
Bye.
month. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned for more RIME Entertainment Showcase.